Hello everybody and welcome to Geekstreet Cafe. Today is a very exciting day because today we will be doing something new on this channel. Something that I am calling Tech Detective, where I will be testing, checking, and comparing and contrasting two different items in a similar category to figure out which one is the best of the two at their job. So without further ado, today in Tech Detective we'll be looking at the wireless portable headphones category. Now, for the two items I am specifically looking at is obviously one that you all know that I love, is the Apple AirPods. These little things are amazing, but I am going to hold myself there before I go ahead and start praising them before the Tech Detective starts. And second, the competitor is the LG Sport headphones. Now, these come in multiple different pairs. I personally got the Sport series because they share similar qualities, and I wanted to kind of keep the playing field as level as possible. So without further ado, let us get started. So to get things started today on Tech Detective, wow, that's really hard to say multiple times in a row. Eventually kind of loses meaning. Tech Detective, Tech Detective, Tech Detective, Tech Detective, Tech Detective, Tech Detective, Tech Detective. Anyway, I will actually be avoiding doing any kind of spec rundowns or juicy details like I normally do in product descriptions, because today we're looking at qualities of each device that make it good at what it does. And sometimes getting to those can kind of narrow our sight onto, you know, well, this one is 5 hertz better than the other one, and it's 8 milliseconds faster than the other one, and I'd rather just kind of get into the overall how this feels when you're using it. However, I have already done a product description video on the Apple AirPods, linked down in the description, and if you would like me to do a full spec video on this LG set of headphones, let me know down in the comments, because I'll be very happy to do so. So let us go ahead and get started with the first product, namely the one that is around my neck, the LG Sport headphones. These guys are fantastic. I've been using them for the past several days, kind of getting an idea of how I like them, and the first thing that I noticed is how comfortable and easy they are to carry with me, because they are around my neck, which, as us guys know, we don't really use all that often. They work with both dress shirts and regular shirts like I'm wearing right now, and honestly, you know, for you ladies, if you wear necklaces, I don't think it would really hinder anything, because it's a very, you know, it's not really anything to catch on, so it's just kind of there. They do expand and, you know, contract depending on your neck size, so it's not like you're going to be wearing something that's going to fall off. It kind of hugs your neck a little bit, which does take just a tiny amount of time to get used to. But let's compare this to the Apple AirPods. Now, the AirPods, the thing that is great about them is that they are very small. They are very compact and easy to use, easy to carry, and easy to tuck away. Now, let me note one thing. I don't feel like these are going to get in the way or get hurt by carrying them around my neck. You know, we as humans kind of tend to protect those kinds of things. Whereas the AirPods, when I have them in my pocket, I have the tendency to make sure I don't put anything else in my pocket to keep them safe, or I have a tendency to be very aware that they're in my pocket, so I try not to, like, you know, lean against anything or make them, you know, in danger in any way. So in fact, believe it or not, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give 1 point to these guys for how easy they are to carry around. Let's go on to spec number 2, which is a feature that I honestly have found is very convenient. When they are connected to my phone, these actually have a vibrator in them, so I don't have to have them in my ear in order for me to, like, if I get a phone call, it'll vibrate here, and to answer it, literally I don't have to press any buttons. I just extend and place in my ear. I immediately answer the phone call. This is super convenient, super useful, and I do really love it. Now let us compare to the AirPods side. Obviously, when you have one of these in your ear, now that is kind of a mark against it, but hear me out. When you have one of these in your ear, then it is able to immediately ring, okay? And so when it does ring, all I've got to do is just double tap right there and it answers the call for me. I don't have to take the phone out of my pocket, don't have to do anything with it. So that is kind of one, you know, constituent, is that you do have to, you know, already have it in your ear. It's not like it just vibrates in your pocket or anything. I have the feeling that these almost tie themselves up a little bit, because personally, I don't know, I'm so bombarded by stuff that I don't really want something vibrating on my neck for me to get a notification. Maybe you guys will like that, maybe you guys will prefer that, and in that case that would win. But personally, I actually like the AirPods because even when I get a phone call, these sync so quickly to my phone that while my phone is ringing, all I've got to do is put this in my ear, double tap it real quick, and I answer the call. It doesn't take any time at all for me. So I feel like the AirPods win in that case, because then there's not something, you know, in the way at that moment. Let's take a look at something else. I've been testing the microphone quality on both these and the AirPods to see what it's like to talk on the phone with someone. These are actually less clear than the AirPods are for two reasons. One, I feel like the microphone gets inhibited by just like, you know, clothing and neck and chin and stuff, especially in these cold winter months when I've got my collar all the way up here trying to protect from the wind. It's an inhibitor. So you have to like make sure everything is clear and uninhibited before you take the call. Whereas with the AirPods, it's a lot different. They actually designed this really well. The microphone is just in the bottom of this. So basically, unless my, you know, collar is up here, then I'm going to be perfectly fine. So in fact, microphone quality and the clarity both win to the AirPods, so they get a point from me on that one. So let's look at something that everybody I'm sure has been wondering up until this point, sound quality. Well, this is kind of subjective, because some people really like different things for different sound qualities and stuff like that, but as a sound guy myself, I'm looking objectively for an overall range of sound, overall clarity, and the ability to mold it to what you want. So with those things in mind, the AirPods actually win out on this one, and here's why. With these, they are very bass heavy, meaning that they have a tendency to amplify the lower end of things. Now don't get me wrong, I'm a bass addict. I love those things. That is the best thing in the world, but I want to choose when I do that. I don't always want to be bass heavy. Listening to orchestral and classical music with bass heavy stuff is not always fun. So having the ability to have the range where I can choose that between these and these is definitely preferable to me. So let's talk about another quality that a lot of people tend to pay attention to when they're listening to music, and that's sound cancellation. Now this one's actually fairly obvious because you can probably see, and if not, let me see if I can point it out to you, that there are rubber tips on the ends of these headphones. And that's pretty immediate. When you have a rubber seal like that, I can get really good sound cancellation out of these. Whereas with the AirPods, they're plastic and they sit in your ear, so you know, if you're looking to be able to hear other things while you're listening to music, that's great, but if you're wanting to hone in and kind of disappear for a while, then these definitely win on that, because you can kind of block out everything else from your life when wearing these headphones for realsies. So the next one is control. Now this one was split kind of even for me, because on the sides of these things here, I've got things like the up and down buttons or for volume, as well as answering the phone, like an answer phone key. I've got play, pause, then skip back and forth to the next song. So I have full control just from these things here. That is just great. Like, I can do everything without pulling my phone out. Now I have run into a problem with that where, you know, when running or when exercising, my shoulder or something will hit one of those buttons and it'll do something. So that is an issue. However, it definitely has a perk over the AirPods. Now let me give the AirPods a fighting chance here. They have two options for control, a double tap here and a double tap here. So I have mine programmed where I play pause on this side and I double tap for Siri on this side. I don't know whether that's a crutch win or not, because when I double tap Siri, I can tell it to turn the volume up and down, I can tell it to skip to the next song, I can tell it to pause, I can tell it to, you know, literally do anything in the whole wide world because Siri. So I don't know if that's actually a win, because, you know, it's technically not an onboard control. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to it, because the other thing that is cool about the AirPods is you can customize it. So I could have both of them play pause, I can have one where it's skipped to the next song, or I can triple tap to go back one. So really, because it's so modular, and because it has access to Siri, I definitely have to give control over to the AirPods. So it looks like we have ourselves a winner for this first Tech Detective video. The Apple AirPods definitely seem to have come out on top, and I hope that you guys think that I am being unbiased because I am trying my best to do so, even though I am an Apple fanatic. So it was really hard for me to sometimes, see past that bias, but I definitely did my best, and I hopefully think that you guys got a lot of great information. Now, don't get me wrong. The LG headphones are extraordinary. I love them. They are amazing. And if you were looking for a great piece of technology that is not necessarily the Apple brand, definitely those. Those are great. All the different ones that they have a whole line of them for different prices, and they are amazing. So thank you guys so much for joining me today, and as always, I will see you next time on Geekstreet Cafe.